Alright, so today we're working on a Vaillant EcoTec Pro, and we're going to be looking at changing over the pump body. So our pump is right here. If you wanted to take the pump head off, you just have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. I'm not sure you can see them, but I come off, take the 3 wires out, and you're all good. But if you do need to change the pump body, it is a little bit more involved. So there are 2 main ways to do it. So you have 2 screws underneath. Let's see if I can quickly show you. So if you can see, there's 1 screw there and there's another one right next to it there, but they're basically at the bracket for the pump. They'll hold a bracket there. So what you do, take those 2 screws out, take the PRV out and undo that connection there, and you'll kind of wiggle the pump out to the right. I don't really like that way because sometimes the piping, the way the installer has done the pipe work, it can be a little bit tricky, especially if the wood's been leaking. They can be rusted in as well, and then trying to line it up after can be a little bit tricky. I found the most simplest way is just to take out the diverter and the pump together, and push it back in together. So but everyone has their own ways. This is the way I found easiest to do it. So yeah, so first thing you're going to want to do is obviously isolate and drain down the boiler, since this is on the central heating circuit. So we have our drain off on our valve right here. So you would get your spanner, attach your drain down hose to here, and do that. Obviously isolate the valves so they're in line. You can either do that with an Allen key, a big fat head, and depends on what you have. But yeah, so once you've isolated the flow and return, there'll be one on the flow as well. Drain out the boiler, and then I'd also recommend recharging the vessel, as most people don't service their boiler and it's probably full of water. So give that a charge for about 0.8 bar, push out in the water, and then we can get to the repair. So first thing that I will probably do is just take off my electrical connection for my diverter valve, and then we have 3 screws for that diverter we need to take off. So 1, 2, and then 1 at the bottom. So we're going to need a screwdriver to do that. Sometimes these can be quite stuck in, so if you're unloosening it for the first time, I would recommend kind of doing the jerking motion. So you're gonna push into the screw and twist anti-clockwise at the same time, just to crack it. Last thing you want to do is start stripping the head of the screw, then that becomes another nightmare. So and then we have our screw down here at the bottom. But before we do that one, I would recommend just quickly taking out this pipe, just because you have to go at an angle depending on the screwdriver you have, and you don't want to strip it. So to give this pipe some more wiggle room, what we're going to do first is pop out this clip here, and then you'll notice if you try to pull this pipe out, it doesn't have much play. So what you need to do is go underneath, and what we're going to do is unloosen the, what it's called now, the return. Let's bring it down a little bit more. So we're going to unloosen the return. Now you don't need to take it off. And then if you look here, we have another nut here, and what we're going to do, we're going to unloosen this nut here, and this is the one that gives that pipe play. Now you'll see when I go to pull this pipe now, you can see the massive difference in the play I have. Thought it wouldn't have been able to do that, so that gives you all that room. That also allows you to take the diverter out. So that's that. Now we can get to our third and final screw at the bottom right here. Now if it's the screw that's all the way at the back and it's not the one that's been extended, I probably recommend not trying to take it out, but just loosen it so it's out of the slot, out of the thread, and just leave it in there, so when you pull the diverter out it comes out instead of trying to go in there and fish it. Unless you have a magnetic bit, then you might be able to do it. But next we have our nut for our pump that we need to undo. So that's that. Then we have our nut for our expansion vessel we need to take out. That's connected to the pump body. Now be careful, there's a washer in here, so don't want to lose that. So that's that, that's that. Also we need to undo the nut for the PRV underneath the boiler. So if you look underneath, this is your PRV right here. You will need to undo it as it will be connected to a pipe that goes to outside or a drain, whatever. So to undo that, you can do that with grips, or usually they're hand tight, so just undo that by twisting it anti-clockwise. And then we have another screw right here which holds the pump body to the bracket. Now if I'm not mistaken, that is pretty much it. Everything should come out now. So we're gonna have to wiggle this a little bit because we're gonna have to bring the expansion vessel pipe in front of this. So we're gonna pull that out to the side and start wiggling this forward. Get that pipe out of the way. Get that pipe out of the way. And that is it. That is our pump body out. So then all you'd need to do is take out this screw right here. And then we have our cables that we need to disconnect, pop those in, and then also our connection for our pressure gauge, wiggle that out, and that is your pump body section out. So look, that's our screw that I was talking about for the diverter, and I dropped the screw for the pump body there, but that's fine, I can take that out later. So your diverter, obviously your pump body obviously won't come like this, so what you'll need to do is you'll need to take off your diverter. You'd have that clip there, wiggle that to the left, that's your diverter out. It will come with the AAV most likely, but it probably won't come with the expansion vessel connection. So just pop that clip out there, pull that out, and then lastly just your PRV. So okay, I haven't changed the pump body in a while, but I'm pretty sure that is how you get your pump body for the Vaillants. So let's suppose this is your new one now. What we're going to do, we can just pop our PRV in first. So just grease up your PRV. If you're going to put a new one in, put a new one in, it's up to you. That's that clip. Then we can put our expansion vessel tube back in, wiggle that in, pop our clip back in. That's that, it's not coming out. Then we can pop our diverter back in. Put our clip back in here. So just a quick note, if you was doing the other way, that's the bracket I was talking about that you gotta take out. But sometimes when the diverter leaks or the pump leaks, that can get rusted in a little, so it's just a little bit headache. So I'd always just recommend doing it this way. You can see it wasn't that hard at all. How long it take? 10 minutes ish. Maybe add on a couple of minutes to wait for the boiler to drain. So let's say 10 to 15 minutes it'll take you to take out. But cool, that is your pump body pretty much assembled back together. So then what we can do is put our connection back in for the pressure gauge, pop our clip back on, then we can pop our wiring in while we have nice access while it's out. So put the neutral in first because it's in the middle. Pop our earth and then our live. So pop that in there. Oh, that's that. That is your pump wired back in. So now what I recommend doing is if you don't get the long screw, or you don't have the long screw for the diverter, I recommend just getting the screw. Where I put my screws? They're here. I recommend putting it in now. So put it in at the bottom there, and then I'd also maybe recommend putting in the one for the pump body as well, just because it's not the greatest of access. Especially by doing it now, you don't have to try balance it in after. You already have it in the hole. So if you look now, our pump body screw, our bottom diverter screw, and now we're just gonna position it back in. So we need to move this return pipe, put our suspension wrestle hose behind that, move this, line up the diverter, the PRV, sorry. Okay, so that is it pretty much in. So the first thing I'll do now is do the screw for the pump body, so that way you know the pump is pretty much in place and everything is in pretty much in good place if you do that screw. So oh, that's why. Okay, that's it. So then okay, so now that's secure, everything's pretty much in the right place now. So then now you can see our screw for the diverter is pretty much already in position. We ain't got to try balance and put it in and drop it in there. So now what we have to do is just tighten it up. Okay, that's that. Then we have our two screws at the top here, so alright, that's those three screws in. We can pop our connection in there, and then your connection up for return. And then to remember to make sure your washer is still in place, or if you're putting a new washer, put a new washer in. Okay, that's that. Now we have our connection for the diverter valve, so I recommend putting some grease on that and wiggle and pop that in, get our clip, pop that clip in, and then remember this is still loose here, so we're going to go underneath and tighten that back nut which kills this pipe. And then we can just do up our nut for the return. Okay, and also you'd have to put on your nut for your PRV as well, remember that. Okay, so that is pretty much it. That's connected, those are tight, electrical connections are done. So then I recommend an isolating flow and return, filling up and make sure you've got no leaks, and that is it. That is changing over the pump body on the Vaillant EcoTec Pro.